Hey, Sean, I got rid of a bunch of my more professional gear and replaced some of it, but not all of it, with less professional gear. And I'm going to tell you what I sold, what I got instead, and why. The two reasons why I sort of downgraded a bunch of my pro video gear. Before we begin, you may notice this looks a little bit different, and that's because I'm testing a couple things for an upcoming project, and I thought, what better way to test it than use it in a YouTube video? And so if this looks overly dramatic and awful, I'm not going to go back and re-record it. There's just going to be one video that looks like this. But if you like the way it looks, throw something in the comments and we could do something like this more often. So the main piece of gear I got rid of was my Sony a7S III. And the main reason I got rid of this is because I'm not using it for the next few months. I'm taking a paternity leave, or as much as a freelancer can say they're taking a paternity leave. And I'm not going to be using it for the next few months, and odds are a new one is going to be released sometime early next year, and I will probably want to upgrade. And if I sell it now, it's worth more than if I wait for the new one to come out and then sell it. And so that's what I did. So it's not just depreciating in my basement. The only thing it'd be really being used for is YouTube videos, which it is very overqualified to do. So got rid of that. Also got rid of my Rhino slider system. I got rid of the Venus Laowa probe lens. And this is all gear that I've loved and gear that I've used, but I'm just using less and less. And understand the kinds of videos that I'm creating. Typically, I'm going and doing interviews on location with somebody, and then I'm filming B-roll at that same location and putting together a video. I'm not doing a whole bunch of basement studio tabletop product stuff where the probe lens can be fantastic. It's the kind of thing where I'm taking the probe lens out into the field, and to really set up a shot for it takes too long, and it's not worth it. And if you do 2 shots with it, it starts to stand out in the video of like, whoa, there's another one of those shots. And so you got to use it sparingly, and it's put me in a spot where it's so much work to get one shot from it in most of what I do that it's not worth having. And there's a paraprobe lens now where instead of pointing straight forward, the lens points down, and it opens up so many more options for setups that are so much less complicated because of what you need to actually rig your camera. Instead of pointing straight down or just pointing straight out, you can get a lot closer to a lot of things and do more interesting motion. So I wasn't using the Rhino slider at all. Hadn't really used it in 4 years. So got rid of that, got rid of the probe lens. I got rid of a couple action cameras that have been outdated and upgraded. And then some other like tripods and grip gear that I just wasn't using. I bought so much gear so that I would have it, because if I had it, then I could use it. And so often I found myself where this gear was just getting in the way. And so the second reason that I sold all this stuff and upgraded kind of to less professional gear is that lately I've been trying to be more lean with my setup. And I used to have, I sold my small HD Teradek monitors. I don't even use an on-camera monitor anymore. And it's because when I'm doing interviews, I trust my camera. I know what it looks like. I've done so many of these that I don't need all this extra gear just to check exposure or focus. And it was just getting in the way. It's stuff to bring, cables to bring, batteries to bring and charge. It was just extra stuff that was between me and creating. And then I made a whole video about this, but I started using my phone for a couple of shots, and I was really impressed by the quality of it and how often those shots end up in my final edits the couple times I've done it, to the point where I got together with Sean Kirkland, with whom I have this budding relationship, and another photographer that he knows, Rob Grimm, who's a technical maestro of photography and has been doing it for decades. And we got together and filmed using only our phones at this restaurant, and it looks brilliant. It looks incredible. It was so freeing to not have all the complication of rigs and gear and setups and gimbals and stuff. We just handheld, and this stuff looks great. But what it let us do was get creative in a way that we typically can't, because we're limited by gear and time. And the kind of stuff where if you want to do this long shot from tight to wide, all in one, inside to outside, you'd have to do so much with your gear to have, you know, somebody pulling focus and even pulling exposure and changing settings, because even the automatic settings on these cameras can't react quickly enough to all that. And you'd have to have a lens that can go from crazy wide to crazy zoom and all this. The phones take all that off the table, so you can just say, what do I want this to look like? And that has become an interesting challenge in and of itself of saying, well, if I don't have to worry about any of this stuff, if I don't have to have something huge, some robot to hold this big camera rig, I could do anything. What could I do? And that's been exciting to approach these jobs with this new lens of like, okay, forget the gear. We'll make it look good. If the cameras are good, and we'll make it look even better in post, we can do this. And it's been liberating to approach projects this way. So that's the other big reason of some of this gear was just getting in the way, and you don't need it to do all the things. And because of this second reason, I'm having fun again. I'm having fun again creating stuff that I haven't had in a while. And I definitely got into this rut, or not rut, but routine, where I know what I make, I know how to make it, and I show up and I make it. And it doesn't challenge me creatively. And so to switch my gear up, to pare things down, forces me to be creative, forces me to look for different solutions than maybe how I would have done it. And in those different solutions, there's new things completely. It's not just a simpler way to do something I used to do, but now that I only have this phone, how can I throw this thing around to get something that I couldn't have gotten with a Sony with a monitor and a big lens on it and stuff like that? So that's the two reasons. One, I wanted to sell stuff while it was still valuable before I'm going dormant for a while. But two, it's also fun to use a pared down kit. So I got the Sony a7C II, which I'm loving, not just because it does video very well, this is being shot with it, but also it does photos. And the a7S III only has 12 megapixel photos, which I get, blah, blah, blah. It's about the composure, whatever. I have a new child, and it's exciting to have a photo camera, and I'm taking fun photos again like I haven't been able to in a while. And this is slightly smaller than the a7S III was. And so it's about excitement for me and finding a pared down way to create more. And the less gear I have, the more I'm creating. And I think that's the big takeaway for me, is the simpler the setup, the easier the setup, the more I'm able to do and the more fun that I'm having because of it, because there's less between me and my vision. And because there's less obstacles between me and my vision, it's letting me expand my vision further than I used to. And that's exciting to me. So that's what I got rid of, and that's why I got rid of it. I think the other new thing I got was a camera strap, which I've never owned before. I got a Peak Design strap light so that I can take my camera places and get shots without having to bring a backpack. I can just throw it over my shoulder, which doesn't seem pivotal, but really that has affected me in an exciting way. And two, I got the Insta360 Go 3, which is a little action camera, and it's not the highest quality. It's definitely not the quality of the Sony before, but because it's so light and so mountable and comes with sticky mounts and stuff like that, we're getting shots that we wouldn't have gotten before. To rig up a Sony would have taken a half an hour to do it, and to pick the right lenses and to do it all. It's just say, hey, we want that shot, boom, let's get that shot. And so it's been exciting, and it's been fun to work with this level of gear instead of telling myself, like, if I want to be a real professional, then I need real professional high-end gear, and worrying about what a client might think when I show up with maybe less gear flourish than they may have expected. Working through that is its own issue, but I'm really happy with how it's going so far. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. I sincerely appreciate it, especially if you made it this far. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye. By the way, when we do this setup, the person will probably be looking here and not directly into the camera, but I figured I couldn't talk to nothing this entire video. I thought it'd be weird for the YouTube video if I wasn't looking into the camera, but here's what it could have been. This is what we could have had. Are my shoulders up too high? Should I bring them down?